Hi, welcome to Washoe County School District 21st Century Learning presentation of Backchannels, polls, and virtual boards. My name is Sarah Stewart Ledyard, and I'm excited to take you on a tour of all of these exciting tools that are available to you. Well, first of all, let's make sure we're all on the same page as far as what these tools do. The first term you may or may not have heard of before is called a back channel. And what this means is there could be a real-time virtual discussion going on in the background. So for example, if you're giving a presentation or a lecture or your students are watching a video clip, you could utilize a back channel where students could be virtually typing in questions that they have or comments or reflections or different things that they are thinking, or even perhaps answers to questions that you've already provided to them. So a back channel is basically a virtual discussion that's going on in the background, and then you as the teacher can refer to the back channel whenever you're ready to address that. Most of these tools that I'm going to show you today can be used for formative assessment. So you as the teacher can utilize these tools to get instant feedback from your students to check for understanding. And we know from research that that is one of the most powerful instructional tools that we as teachers have in our tool belt. Being able to get that real-time feedback and information available on the spot so that you can modify your instruction to meet the needs of your students. Most of these tools also allow for polls, so you can get feedback on certain questions or opinions from your students. The quiz feature is also very useful. You could use that formatively or summatively. And a couple of the tools I'm going to show you have a gamification feature, which basically means it utilizes polls, quizzes, and questioning in ways that it's a contest so that students are motivated to compete in some way. So it adds that gamification factor, which we know students love. It adds a lot of motivation and especially engagement. So as promised, we're going to go ahead and explore a couple of my favorites that all have different strengths. And hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll have the opportunity to explore several of these tools and have a better understanding of which ones will fit your needs. So to begin, I'm going to start with Plickers. And this one is unique in that you do not have to have a classroom full of one-to-one devices in order to utilize this tool. This is why I put this tool up first to present to you, because all you really need is one device. So the teacher could utilize their own phone if it's a smartphone and it has a camera so that it can scan codes. That's all you need. Or if your school or classroom or grade level or department has access to an iPad or an Android device that can scan, you could use that as well. So it's really effective because you're not limited by the fact that your students may or may not all have a device in their hand. So you can still utilize this. It's fantastic. So this is what Plickers looks like. When you log into the site, you're able to print off some response cards. And it looks like a really odd little shape, as you can see. But upon closer examination, you can see that each side of the response card has A, B, C, or D. And it also has a number. So each student could be assigned a number that they always use. So this could allow you to also track data on your students over time if you were interested. When you ask for feedback from your students or you're asking a question, your students can respond by holding up this response card in a certain direction. And the way that the example is shown here, the A is on the top, so that student would be basically communicating that their answer is A. Let's see what this might look like in a classroom. So as you can see, the students do not need a device. They're just basically holding their card And as referenced before, I would assign each card number to a student. It is nice to keep the student names anonymous. That way you can still utilize it formatively, show the data to the class so everybody can see where you're at collectively as far as understanding, but without calling anybody out, making anybody feel uncomfortable. Here's a unique picture that I found that I thought was a nice idea. Maybe if you laminated them, because this is something that you could potentially use all year long, and put it in, the students' boxes or their desks, or if it's, secondary and you have so many students coming in every day, you may just want to put hooks on the wall, but something so that it's easy for students to get. Here's a look at what the dashboard looks like when you log in. It's got a really nice, clean interface. As you can see, I'll draw a couple things on here for you. Over here, over cards, this is where you would actually go to print out the cards. They have different sizes available, which is really nice. So if you have a larger classroom and you think you need larger cards, or you have some visually impaired students that need larger font for the choices, you can choose from different ones. You would really basically get started by just going to add a class, and then once you click on add a class, it allows you to type in your students' names. Here you can see I have set up a class, and I just for these purposes titled my class presentation, but it's very easy to add students in. So to add more students, you just type them in, and I typed mine in student 1, student 2, student 3, because I like the idea of being able to share the data with the class so that they can see collectively where they're at in their understanding without them being able to see who answered right and who answered wrong. That's not necessary for the students to see. We don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. So I typed them in, student 1 and 2, 3, and so on, as you can see. And then here's another view of what it might look like as you're actually projecting your questions to the class. So you can actually prepare questions in advance. Here's a true-false one, so students would hold up their card to display either A or B. And over here, you can see that I can see exactly who's answered because the squares will light up or become highlighted as soon as they've answered. So it gives you an idea of how much time you need to allow. And then you can easily see the results in graph form as well. So it makes it really, really easy to use. Here's an idea of what it might look like in graph form. So I'm basically in the presentation mode. I've asked the question. What I do to gather the data is I walk around with the Plickers app opened on my device, either my phone or my iPad or my Android device. And you basically scan those cards, and it only takes about a half a second. If that, you just walk around and aim your phone camera at each of those cards, and it in real time gathers the data. So here you could see, since 100% of my students were able to get that question correct, then I don't need to do any reteaching, and I know as a teacher that I'm okay to go on because that data has given me that information. So a really nice tool that I really encourage you to try. It's fantastic that you only need one device. So I will give you a little bit of time to explore the website if you're interested to set up an account and dig in and explore it on your own. All right, so moving on, the next tool I like because of its simplicity. It is incredibly easy to use. It takes about 2 seconds to set up, and it's very easy to utilize. It's called Today's Meet. And basically, you access this site by going straight to their website, todaysmeet.com. It doesn't require a login, which is both a blessing and a curse. This is something you need to consider. Because it doesn't require a login, the students are able to type in any name in order to participate. So this is something that you would really want to have some strong classroom management and make sure that you've provided your students with some instruction in proper online behavior and expectations, and of course consequences if they were to not follow those expectations. I would suggest that my students type in either a code name that I've given them or their first name only. If students were to type in, a name that you are not aware of, or a name that they could potentially post comments anonymously, and that's where you may get some misbehavior occurring. So this is a tool that you are going to want to make sure that you do some pre-teaching on appropriate behavior. They do have some new features that you can moderate and approve things, and so these are things that you can look into as well. So to just give you a classroom example of how this tool is used, I'm going to share a video link with you from the teaching channel. It's called Texting to Assess Learning, and I would like you to watch that video and then share your thoughts about it. Today's Meet is a classic example of a back channel, like I referred to before, where students can be reflecting, asking questions, sharing their thoughts in the background without, having to stop instruction, and rather being able to go forward with your learning and then pause at predetermined times to be able to collect all of that information, and also allow students to interact simultaneous as they are viewing a video or listening to some information. So here's an idea of what it looks like. It's super simplistic. I'll do a quick demo of how you set up a room, but once it's set up, it's just a streaming list of back channeling going on. So each square here basically is a student responding. So each one of these, and so you could have them, throw up their reflections, or what I like to do is have them type their first name and then what they are wanting to share. Here's a view of what it looks like once you're logged in. And you don't even really have to log in, but if you want to save your rooms, then you do have to log in. But even as a teacher, you don't have to log in. So once you're at todaysmeet.com, you basically open a new room. You can name it, so you could call it whatever you want. You can determine how long you want to keep it open. This is another area where I would encourage you to exercise caution. I don't think you should leave the room open unattended, and so that's something that you may want to consider. You want to make sure that you're monitoring, and if it's something that you've set up, you're in control over, and you don't have any unattended conversations going on. So I would say a day normally. Who can join? And so this is where you can add a little bit more level of security if you wanted, and do signed in users. But once they're signed in, you basically are able to get that. It gives you a URL or a website address of where your students can access the back channel, and then a little square for them to type their name and just start jumping in and typing. Okay, so moving on, one of my favorite tools is Padlet. Padlet is like a virtual corkboard. So imagine sticky notes, which we love. Educators, we use sticky notes for lots of different things. This is exactly the same concept. You can use your sticky notes virtually, and really beyond that, your only limitation is your imagination. Not only can you use it to post comments, feedback, quizzes, polls, but students can also post and share multimedia. So in addition to text, it becomes multimodal because students can post links and videos and images and files even. You could have this, you could use it more structured like a KWL or a T-chart where students are classifying and organizing information. They could be comparing and contrasting using Venn diagrams since they are able to actually drag and move and manipulate the information. You could ask them to use it along with reading to share visual evidence of understanding or to post text evidence that you've asked them to identify out of a text. There's lots of different ways that you can use it. It's very easy to share. And it's very easy to moderate as well. So if it does make you nervous about students posting things without you approving it first, that does have a lot of teacher-friendly features, such as being able to approve and moderate. And most teachers don't necessarily utilize that feature if they're using it on the fly in a live classroom. But maybe perhaps if you send something home for homework, it might make you feel a little bit more comfortable at the beginning, especially if your students are new to this type of communication to moderate. But again, you're the professional, you're the educator, you know your students best, and the best advice I have is to don't forgo teaching those crucial digital citizenship skills on what your expectations are. Let's give you some visuals of Padlet. Here's a screen from the Padlet.com website. And basically, it gives you lots of different ideas. You could use it for brainstorming, notes, planning, discussions. So this could be used as a back channel, but it's just a little bit different form. Sharing information that you've found, so bookmarking sites and pictures and information, collecting feedback, all kinds of different things. So you might be asking yourself, what does this look like? Because I haven't shown you a visual yet. So here's an example. I have a pretty simplistic one. This would be maybe a teacher using it as a KWL chart. So as the teacher, when I set up the board, I can actually, title it whatever I want, and the teacher can set up some initial post-its or virtual notes. And so this teacher has started with actually posting the KWL, and then the rest of these are students who are either doing this from the computer or a device, and they're able to actually throw up their information, and these are movable, so they can also be sorted. Super easy. Let's look at another example. Here's an example of kind of basically a Venn diagram without the circles. So you've got students comparing information for 1993, 2013, and then items that fall in the middle of both. And again, as the teacher, if you're processing this as a group, if there was something that you weren't sure about or you thought it was miscategorized, then the nice thing is that you can move it. So it makes being able to categorize and classify really easy. Here's another example. The teacher here has said, make a sentence with this word, and the word is fascinate, and post it here. Remember to put your name on the post. I always say to teachers I'm working with, never encourage students to use their full names on anything online. Always keep it to first name only, and I like how this teacher has utilized that best practice here. So all the students have basically thrown up their examples, and again, these could be sorted, manipulated, moved around. Really nice example. Here's another one. How does the water get to your faucet? So this one is being used in conjunction with reading. The teachers ask them to read the article and write down what they've learned and what's another question that you have. And so students have posted, and they've added media. So let me go back. There we go. Sorry about that. They've actually added media on this. You can see there's some actual images in this one. So that's one thing that sets Padlet aside from other tools, is the ability to post images and even videos and multimedia. Here's another example. This one, these right here, it's hard to tell, but these are actually links to videos, I can tell. And this one's an image right here. But just an idea, and here's a file. So students could even share their own digital work. So just to give you some idea of the different types of media that can be shared here. So before I ask you to go to Padlet.com and kind of browse around and explore a little bit, I do want to show you some things of what it would look like. Once I'm logged in, if I click New Padlet, this is what it really starts out as, is a blank board. And you've got your toolbar off to the side. Sorry about that. You've got your toolbar off to the side. So up here is your home page. Create a new Padlet, how you share it, information, getting help, and modifying. So I'm going to click on Modify. This is where I would add my title. And then I'd add my description. Can add a little picture on there as well. And then you have a couple other options. You can change the layout. So as you can see, there's lots of different options here. You don't want it to get too busy in the background, but again, it depends on what you're doing and what you're using it for. Layout is a nice option to consider. Freeform just means that wherever the students click, they can add their post-it. Stream means that it organizes them in a nice line, and so that makes it so that notes can't get piled on top of each other. And grid is, instead of a streaming type layout, it's in a grid. Privacy is where you want to spend a little bit of time and think about what privacy settings you want. You can have it password protected. You can have it hidden, which means it's not publicly searchable. That tends to be kind of what I like, is the hidden link, because nobody would really be able to find it unless you told them about it. And then here's where you would check moderate posts if you wanted to be able to approve them first. The address, this is the address that you would post for students to find the Padlet wall. Or you can pick a new one and see if that's available. Make it maybe so that students don't have to type in this crazy address into their device. Or one thing that I recommend is if you use Edmodo or you have a website or a blog, you can always just post the link, so all the students have to do is click on it and link to it. But if you don't have that, then you may want to make a custom name so that students don't have to type in this big long address. All right, so as you can see, there's lots of different options there. And then when you're ready, you basically double click, and then you can type, and this is how you would and how students would. You can click on this to add a URL or an image or a video. You can upload a file. So if students have created something, maybe they've taken a picture of something that they've completed or drawn or whatever, and they can add that as well. And then once it's up there, like we said before, I think I have it in the streaming form, so I can't move this around, but depending on what format you choose, you're able to do that. So it makes it really nice. All right, so moving on, the next tool that I would like to introduce you to is called Socrative. And Socrative is a tool that allows you to do real-time polling, quizzes. It'll actually auto-grade quizzes for you. It provides you with access to lots of data, so individual data and whole class reports. It's easily accessible on all kinds of devices, which is another benefit. It doesn't matter if you have a web-based laptop or desktop machine or a mobile device such as an iOS tablet, phone, Android, Windows. It's functional on all those platforms. It's free. And to give you just a better insight to what this tool provides, I'd like you to watch their little introductory video and then share your thoughts on that. The next exploration that I would like to share with you and have you explore a little bit are some articles that talk about how teachers, real teachers like you and I, utilize tools like Socrative. And there's even some sound bites where you can listen to teachers share some of their thoughts. I know that, as a teacher myself, I would rather hear from fellow teachers rather than companies about the tool because we are the practitioners, we are the ones that use it. Here's some screenshots that I'd like to give you a peek at just to give you an idea of what this platform looks like. There is a format that you can use called student-paced quiz. And so instead of the whole class having to be on the same exact question at the same exact time, students can individually navigate through a quiz at their own pace. So this is a picture of what students would see. So as you can see here, students can navigate and skip around to any question that they want, so they don't have to go in order. Students can also just go in a linear fashion by going previous and next down here at the bottom. I like how you can add some media along with your questions, so it doesn't have to be just text. So you're giving students information in multimodal ways. And then when they're done, they basically hit submit. So a nice clean interface. That's the student self-paced. That's what the students see. Let's move over to see what it would look like on the teacher's end. So on the teacher end, you can see you've got your students here listed off to the side, and then you can actually see the questions at the top here, and you can see visually green versus red as to how they scored or answered collectively. It also gives you some nice data at the bottom of the number, the percent correct for each question. So, if you see a low percentage down here at the bottom for, question 4, for example, you would know, wow, I think I need to go back and reteach that. So don't overlook the power of using these tools formatively. I know that we think, oh, this is a huge time saver for summative tests. I can't wait to use this, but there's so much power in being able to use this summatively to really see what your students are understanding and make sure that you go back and correct misconceptions or maybe reteach, whatever you think is necessary. And then, of course, the finish. So nice reports on this tool. Here's a teacher-paced quiz. So just as I mentioned before, where students can actually go through the student-paced on their own, you can also make it a teacher-paced quiz. It's another option and can make sure every student is on the same question at the same time. As you can see, there's also some multimedia here. That's what I like, and the question is here. The media is clearly visible. Students can zoom if they need to look closer or they need it to be more enlarged. They simply click whatever their answer is and then they submit. So this is a nice way to do it formatively, because as a class you could have everybody up there and then they could all submit and you could see collectively where they're at on their understanding and see if you need to reteach. teacher paste on the back end, here's what the teacher sees. Okay, so the teacher can toggle through the different questions, as you can see here. You can select how do we do to show or hide the student data, which is shown down here. And it gives you that nice graph. The correct answer will be highlighted in green, and it will show you the percentage of how many have answered it correctly. So a nice quick visual that you can use, again, formatively to see right away whether or not you need to do some reteaching. Another nice tool that I think is underused for a lot of these digital tools is we hear a lot, and I completely understand that it's time consuming to pre-plan and pre-type in all these questions, but you don't have to do that to use these tools effectively. If you want to ask a verbal question on the fly, you can do that, which requires zero setup time. So don't let time, which is all of our enemy, stop you from utilizing these tools. If you really don't have the time to utilize the features of typing the questions in ahead of time, then just use the quick question mode. And you can really do that with any of these tools that I've shared with you today. Verbally ask a question. Once you're logged into Socrative, you would just basically click on quick question. You could tell the students verbally or write it up on the board in your whiteboard what type of question it is, and then have them pull in their questions, and you can analyze the results right there on the fly, and you would know in your mind which one was the right and wrong answer, and you can still utilize this really effectively without having to spend a lot of time. The next tool that you might be interested in exploring is called Pull Everywhere. This has a free K through 12 plan that includes 40 responses per poll. So if you have more than 40 students per classroom, that might be a consideration. You can upgrade to pay for more features, which would include more responses, but really you would need one per student. So hopefully we don't have any classes over 40, but if you did, you would be able, you might want to reconsider on this tool. It integrates with PowerPoint and web presentations. It has some interesting ways of sharing the information with you via, for example, word clouds, and I'll show you what that looks like. And you can upgrade for more reporting features, but again, it's free and you do get some basic features for free that are really nice. Here's kind of a visual of what this looks like. You can type in your question, and here you can see just a silly question, how much do you love your mom? So what you would ask your participants to do is to go to pollev.com/ballot right up here. So that's the actual name of the website that they would go to, or they can text. Okay, so here they would text the word ballot to the number 22333, and then they could select A, B, or C. And in real time, up on the screen, you'd be able to gather data. So let's go on and look at some other visuals. So your first step is real simple. You just ask a question. You can do multiple choice. You can do free response. Here's an example of that word cloud I was talking about. With word clouds, what you have is the larger the word, the more people have answered that. So it's a nice visual way, like, wow, most of my people here are responding with the word speed, strength, and time travel. And I know that because the more people, the larger the word. So that's a nice way to display the free response. You also have some other really nice features here, like the true false, clickable images poll. So if you wanted them to just click on the image, or a Q&A type brainstorm. So sometimes you just want to get feedback on what should we read today? Let's crowdsource this. What article should we discuss today that's, out of all these current events, which one should we dig deeper into? And sometimes you just want that quick feedback. You can do image responses, and for our math teachers, You can also use the LaTeX syntax, so you can put equations and things into the poll, which is very nice. So just another look at how your participants would respond. After you ask your question, your participants can respond via their phone. So they can text, or they can jump on a web browser on a tablet, phone, or computer. They would visit the web page that the system provides you, and that's their access into that particular poll session. It gives you real-time live results. All right, and moving on, our last tool that I'd like to share with you is called Kahoot. And Kahoot is a really fun platform. It does a lot of the features that we've seen from some of these other tools, but what sets Kahoot a little bit more apart is the fact that it gamifies it. So it turns your questions into like contest mode, competition mode, so that students have that added engagement. Just, it's human nature to like to compete, and that's exactly what Kahoot is capitalizing on. So this is a nice visual that shows you that students can respond on a variety of different devices. So computers, tablets, phones. The teacher would display up here their main question, and as you can see, you can add images and multimedia, and then the students, kind of like a game console, they choose the color or the shape that fits the answer. And what it does is it pops up and kind of shows it as a contest. There's different things that you can use with Kahoot. You can do the multiple choices as a quiz or discussions. You can do surveys, just like some of the other tools that we've talked about. Again, you project it in the front, and then the whole class can play together in real time. And I'll let you see a little example of it, see what you think. Here's an example of how you would set one up to get started. You can set up a teacher account. You give it a name and click go. Type in your questions, and here you can get a better idea of what's possible. You can set time limits. That adds to the competition factor. You can add images and videos, and you can assign points. You can add files as well. You just drag and drop them. Okay, after that, it will provide you with a game pin, and it's a really simple game pin. The students would go to the website kahoot.it.com, and then they would type in that number or that game pin and hit enter, and that's how they enter the game room. So as you can see, a lot of fun and action with Kahoot. Very simple and easy to set up for a teacher. So here you can see I'm logged in. Let's say I want to set up a survey. Okay, so I type in my question. I click go. Okay, save and continue. I can add images if I want. I can add answers down here. It wants me to add, so maybe I typed this question in wrong, but let's just type these in so I can continue here. It allows you to check your privacy settings, whether you want it public, what your audience is, but another nice feature here is look at all the different languages that you can use as well. So you can use Kahoots that other people have created as well, if you choose to do so. If you want it private, it won't share with other people. but if you want to, you have that option. Okay, so now, even though I didn't set up a very good example for time's sake, but you can always edit it. You can always go back. You can play it to see what it would look like. Ready to join? It says get your phone, tablet, or laptop out. Okay, so join at, and it says go to kahoot.it, enter in that PIN number, and then it's just waiting and waiting, but you would be able to jump right in and see it from there. All right, so at this point, I have some resources that I would like you to explore, or I would like you to kind of go back and maybe spend some more time on the one tool that you think would be the most effective and most bang for your buck to implement in your classroom. And don't feel like you have to use all these tools. Start small, pick one that you can use right away and that you can really feel good about using and comfortable, and focus on that tool. There's more ideas on all of our Pinterest boards, so follow those if you'd like to continue to see updates. Please make sure you read through the disclaimer. And I want to thank you very much for your time today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I will put my contact information back up. You can contact me through Twitter at EdTechNews. Follow me. I like to share lots of different educational and educational technology based tools and ideas and just fun stuff like that. So thank you again for being here, and I hope you've picked up some ideas and some tools that you can add to your tool belt.